Consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission, to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential. All right, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us on The Universe Between Your Ears. I'm Tim Starr. I'm joined by my co-host, Gabi Mushayev.
Hello to everyone.
And our guest, Craig Kulyk. Craig writes about how habits, productivity, and mindfulness intersect with creating good mornings. Although his relationships with mornings haven't always been so rosy. He used to be the kind of person who would start his day as late as possible, hit the snooze button at least 7 times, and he was known as a morning grouch. And I thought you were talking about me when I read this first. His positive relationships with mornings began in 2012 when he started to work from home. He realized quickly that if he didn't make the most of his morning, the day would slip away. He'd work into the evening and still feel like he didn't get that much done. As Craig invested more and more into mornings, he gradually discovered a goldmine of creativity, productivity, and fulfillment that led him to start the blog, Create Good Mornings. Through his candid writing and crappy stick figure drawings, he shares tools, insights, and tactics to help you customize your own good mornings on your own terms. Craig, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Gabi. Happy to be here.
Hopefully we have no more technical issues. Just so the people listening or watching understand what that's about, we've run into a couple of glitches here, so we're doing this over and over again. Just to bring you guys a finished, highly polished product. All right, so let's jump into this here. Craig, talk to us a little bit about creativity, productivity, and fulfillment. How did this come out of? How did you discover that extending your day or moving your day to an earlier time zone basically would bring these things out?
Well, I'll start by saying it wasn't trying to start my mornings earlier that brought this all about. It was wanting to create habits that weren't being formed when I was trying to do them at other times of the day. I wanted to do physiotherapy for an ultimate frisbee injury that I had, and I just wasn't really getting it done in the evening. At the same time, my dental hygienist was yelling at me, not quite yelling, but speaking firmly that I should start flossing because it would make my dental visits a lot better. That has turned out to be very true because I have developed the flossing habit. So the whole morning concept for me and being intentional in creating good mornings was a bit of a fluke. It's not something I thought, I need to focus on this. It was just a matter of circumstance because I wasn't getting things done at other times of the day. In terms of the productivity, creativity, and fulfillment piece, once I started to invest more into mornings is when I realized the productivity component that, especially if I applied creating good mornings to my workday, how much more productive I could be and how much more satisfying I felt doing the work that I was doing. The creativity and fulfillment piece came much later, I'd say probably 3-4 years in, when my mornings were productive, was getting lots done, but I didn't feel like I was fully present with them. And developing a strong meditation mindfulness practice has helped this, as well as having some life events happen that shifted my perspective in a way where now I'm really trying to make sure that I'm savoring and enjoying and present for the moments. And that starts with the morning. And the morning is almost like a training period that I use. And the result is that I've seen it's starting to extend more and more into other parts of my day, so that I'm more present in conversations that I'm having, like this one, for example, or when I'm eating breakfast or dinner or other meals. It's kind of training, like I said, for the rest of the day in terms of being present and fulfilled.
There's something that was on your blog where you wrote that you got a post called "Is Waking Up Early Necessary for Productivity?" And one of the lines in there, he said, of course, there are clear benefits to waking up early: more time, quiet, a rested mind that hasn't reached decision fatigue, and a sense of accomplishment early in the day. And that last little piece is the piece that really struck me, because at least in my opinion, if you're getting a sense of accomplishment early in the day, anytime we get a sense of accomplishment, we feel better about ourselves. And when we feel better about ourselves, we tend to then make better decisions, which leads to feeling better about ourselves, which, and it feeds one on the other. So I thought that was an important point, because the earlier in the day you can get that momentum going, the better off we all would be.
Absolutely. Small wins are crucial to that sense of fulfillment and getting things done. Through my blog, you can, if you sign up, I have a little ebook that's called 5 Simple Strategies to Customize Your Morning Routine. And in order to develop that, I looked at hundreds of different morning routines that other people have and tried to figure out what are the consistencies and commonalities between them. One of them is exactly that, the small win. Different things that you can do for that are things like making your bed, something that I started doing probably actually around the time when I started creating morning routines. Super easy, takes a minute, feels really good, got that done. And every time you see your bed for the rest of the day, at least you did that. This is something that Tim Ferriss talks about a lot. You can have the worst day, but at least you made your bed.
Yeah.
I think when decorated general made a speech at West Point Military Academy, remember that?
Yes.
So if you could just do one thing, promise me to do one thing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm interested. What is he going to say? He said, make your bed.
It's interesting, the little things that affect our mental state, because you could have a crappy day, just like you were saying, you can have a crappy day, and then you see that, well, at least I made the bed, at least that's right, and you can use that as a springboard to, if you're conscious of it, get off of the self-flagellation. And
that's all good, but I think that you guys wouldn't you say you're running a program when you're judging yourself? So your happiness is conditional. I have to have this done and that done, and only then I'll be feeling good about myself, right? I think part of what I'm trying to do here is liberate myself from trying to accomplish anything. I mean, what about learning how to be idle and still be happy and feeling great? Just because I'm here in this universe, I'm already good. I don't need to.
That's true. That's true. I'm not arguing that. But if you're having a down day and you can point at something that was a positive, that can help you to mitigate a little.
Oh, yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. Of course, you want to be able to find happiness with whether you're doing routines or not. And I think that this is something that gets lost with people when they start developing morning routines, is that there becomes this internal pressure to keep up with the routine, that if you don't make your bed one day, then all of a sudden that tanks your mood. You feel terrible for that, which what's really important about that is learning how to change your framing of why you're doing the habits. You're not doing the habits for the sake of doing the habits every single day.
Right.
I would like to do. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. For me, from my perspective, it'd be interesting to do this. I made my bed 6 days in a row, and today I choose not to, and I will feel good about it.
Yeah.
I'll feel good. I'll make a mess out of it. It's a
reward.
Bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, oh no, don't make it into a reward. Again, you're going into this conditional. No. You're just feeling I'm in control. I'm saying here who's happy and when. Okay, make your bed or not. So today I'm gonna show you that my happiness is not conditional. I'm not gonna make my bed. you know, and so I'm not going to follow any routine. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do everything against my routine. I'm going to destroy any notion that I have to have any structure. Well, we were talking about this before.
I'm all for that, because it's really about having the awareness and intention of deciding what you're going to do and doing that, and deciding what you're not going to do. That's okay too. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's okay to let your routine slip, or sometimes it's okay to just decide I'm not going to do anything. It's more about having the awareness and the intention behind that, and making the decision because
Exactly. Yeah.
that's the decision you think is best for you, not making the decision because it's the easier of the two, or any other reason.
How do you develop a routine that serves you, but that you don't have to fight with yourself to follow, even if it's a sporadic
Yeah, that's a good question.
schedule that you use? I'm terrible with this stuff, and it's like, I need to meditate more. I want to meditate every day. I may be at it for Gabi's 6 days. I may be great, and then day 7 comes along and I don't, and the next thing you know, it's day 46. And I still haven't gone back to it. So
this is where experimentation comes into play, because different people will form habits differently. So getting clear on what you want to do and why up front is really important. If meditating is so important to you and you've made that decision that this is something I really want to do, that's key to start, like knowing why you're doing it. And then you can start to play around with different tactics of how you do that. So you could do tracking, and every day you cross it off your list, or you can make it really convenient. So you're going to meditate when you're on the bus going to work for that 10-minute period. So you're already there. You're just going to sit during that time.
Well, what I heard in the first bit that you said right there was that we're really talking about finding your motivation for doing it. Because if you're actually motivated to do it, then finding the time is not such an issue.
Yeah, I think part of it is motivation, but part of it is to get clear on what's the reason for it. So sometimes we start habits and we're not that motivated. And I think that also plays into the best approach to starting that habit. Like if you're really motivated for something, when I started my blog, I was super motivated. I started waking up about an hour and a half earlier, and I kept that going for a month easily. And after that, that habit was formed. So that was something where I made a big switch because I had a strong motivation. But there are other habits that you'll create where you don't have that much of a motivation. Maybe you want to try it out, or maybe even part of you is resisting it, like going to the gym or something. So I think it's really getting clear on the why and experimenting and navigating the way to get there, right? So some people's why might be, I want to lose 10 pounds so that I can look good in my bathing suit on vacation. And having that why and that timeline of like, this vacation's coming up in the next 3 months can also be really motivating. I've done that, and it's been really effective. So it really is a lot of experimentation, and there's a lot of ways to go about doing this. Gretchen Rubin, I mentioned in one of our failed recordings, has done a lot of great work in this area about building habits. I'm blanking on her most recent book. Well, her most recent book is The 4 Tendencies. There is Better Than Before. That book, she goes through a ton of different strategies for building habits. I've mentioned a couple of them, like tracking or convenience. There's things like habit stacking, which is you already have an existing habit, so you brush your teeth every night, and you're going to add on taking vitamin D at that time. So it's easier to stack onto another habit. So yeah, there's a ton of different ways. We could dive into some of those if you'd like, but I think it's a lot of experimentation.
We alluded to one point that this is not a prescription for all types of personalities, right? And We talked a little bit about people who, remember we were talking about working from home, right? And people who actually chose to go to the office even if given an opportunity to work from home, right? Because you just couldn't have this unstructured time, and they needed to go through this routine, through the motions of getting to the office and being at their desk or whatever. So not knowing when the work starts and have a very regimented schedule, right? Just disabled them, debilitated them, right? So would you say that you belong to those people, and you wouldn't advise these ideas to, for consumption to the other people, like myself, for example, we determined, right? So the reason why I'm asking this is because, as I said, like having any kind of routine would just make me feel like I am enslaved. That my freedom is gone. I have to follow this, and then if I don't, I know I would be feeling judgment towards myself. I feel like you missed something or whatever. So that's a very unpleasant feeling for me, and I feel like it took a long time for me to actually get rid of it. From the programming that was kind of I was exposed during my childhood, right? When there's like my baby boomer parents had me do this and this, and there were a lot of routines, right? And then if I didn't do this, I wasn't such a good boy and whatever, right? So I came into my youth and then my adulthood with these programs, and I think maybe early 30s is when I started kind of dropping them because of my different exposures, right? Could you speak a little bit more about that? That's not a prescription for everyone, right? What about the rebels? Yeah. You were talking about some research about the rebels, right?
Yeah, so this is also Gretchen Rubin's work.
It is Gretchen's, yeah.
The 4 tendencies. It's how different people form habits based on how we respond to inner and outer expectations. So you can imagine a quadrant, and people who meet outer expectations, but they resist inner expectations are people called obligers. People who meet both inner and outer expectations are upholders. People who meet inner expectations but resist outer expectations are questioners. That's me. And people who resist inner and outer expectations, we discussed already in another conversation, that's Gabi. He is a rebel. And different people, according to these habit formation techniques, according to these personalities, will form their habits differently. And there's no one-size-fits-all approach as a result. So someone who's a rebel, it's really challenging to form habits. One way that rebels do form habits is if it's value-based. And so that is a good point. My partner is a vegetarian. He is not someone who forms habits very easily, but to be a vegetarian, to choose to eat no meat every single day, it's not even a choice. It's just a value for him. And so
conviction, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that can work for other rebels too. Like if you're trying to create or build something, or there's something that's really, really important to you, you'll be able to decide to do that every day without having it to be a routine necessarily. So I think rebels are the hardest, but it's a matter of figuring out what is going to drive you because of the values that you have.
So the point is there's no cookie cutter for everybody.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a nice quadrant. I visualized it as you were describing it, and I was thinking. You mentioned your partner was a rebel too, right?
Still is.
So I mean, it's kind of interesting to explore how these different members of different quadrants get along, and who should not be together, and
I haven't thought too much about how.
Yeah, that's a whole other discussion, I think.
Yeah, I know. But it's a good way to sort them out, you know.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you about another one of your blog posts, Sir Craig. It's called "The Busy Trap of an Ordinary Life," and I'm not sure I got the whole gist of the whole thing, but there was one line in there that really grabbed me, and you said, "Extraordinary is all around us when we slow down and choose to pay attention." And I thought that was really right on the money. You want to comment on that? And because it's a theme that keeps coming up with everybody that we talk to, has to do with appreciation and smelling the roses as we go along and that kind of thing. I'm assuming that's kind of where you're going with this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It has to do with the fact that the day and age that we live in, it encourages this sort of hedonic consumption, and we always have a chance to be distracted. Taking the time to actually slow down and be present and be grateful and appreciate the moment that we're actually living, as opposed to being in our head and thinking about another moment in the future, a moment in the past. That's something that we all struggle with.
And this is something that you were able to get to because of creating Good Mornings.
It's a process that I'm still trying to get further along that path. I don't think I've reached any sort of magical place where I've figured this out. I obviously struggle with this too. For me, mornings have helped open this up because, like I kind of alluded to earlier, it's a bit of a training period. When you first wake up, it's almost like you're hitting a reset button every single day. And when you wake up, you have the most willpower and the freshest mind that you're going to have all day to make decisions about what you're going to think about, what you're choosing to do. That has been able to extend to other parts of my day. I think also layering that with a meditation mindfulness practice has helped me a lot, because now I notice at other points in my day, I stop and say, what are you doing? What are you thinking about? Are you present? Does this thought really matter? If you're getting upset, is this going to matter a year from now? So it's really just constantly coming back and thinking about how you're framing your current experience, if you're even present with that experience. And I feel like the busy trap that I was talking about in that post is that we are constantly filling our lives with things or ideas, or we're listening to podcasts, we're reading books, and we're trying to be more and more productive. But the more that we do that, the less we're actually fully immersed in that experience. And if you're not immersed in that experience, you're not actually going to really notice that your life is happening. And by the end of your life, you'll be like, whoa, what even happened? I think we all do this all the time, so we know what it's like. But the more you can be present and focused on your experience, the more you'll realize that you're fully existing in it.
It's becoming the observer of what you're doing, as well as being the doer, right?
Yeah, and I feel like it almost slows things down a little bit, like because you're actually paying attention to the experience that you're having. We all know when we get busy, time seems to go faster. But if you can take more time to recenter and say, this is where I'm at, it seems that your experience is longer or is slowed down. At least it does for me.
About the immersive experience, I could relate to that so much. Some of the movies I was watching in my 20s, I sometimes stumble upon them, and I watch them again now with a different mindset. And what seemed to be so mediocre and banal and trivial, it just seems like, wow, how could I have missed that? I mean, it's just a new quality. And I attribute that totally to what you were saying. As you're present, you basically are able to, I don't know, appreciate every little nuance in the story and in the movie, and the way how the scene was shot. I mean, really, being fully present totally makes the whole life just a whole new experience. And so I ended up listening to the same music and having a completely different experience from it, or movies as well.
Well, you're operating essentially as a different person, right?
Exactly, right?
So,
Yeah. Different mindset, different consciousness behind that. Regarding starting your morning, if you get yourself on track, with all these routines like meditation, whatever, you develop this momentum, and I mean, you probably pretty much ensure that your day is going to go really great, right? I mean, if the momentum is going, it's going. It's going to be hard to get you off track, wouldn't you say? I mean, I think
life has its way of trying to do that, it seems, and all my days aren't objectively great. There are still hard days. There are hard conversations. There are moments in life that are hard, and we all, we've lived through that, and we're going to live through that. So I guess I can't say that every day is great, and that the reason I didn't call my blog "Create Great Mornings" is because that wasn't the message that I wanted to send. But I will say that I feel a lot more equipped to deal with challenges as they arise. I know that the next morning I'm going to sit and meditate and do a few routines and write down my thoughts and my mood, and that will help me to understand where I'm at, and that's impermanent and that will go away. That's one of the biggest things that I've noticed with some consistent morning practices of meditation and writing down my thoughts and my mood, is just how fleeting they often are, and the themes that tend to come up more and more again. It's opened me up to understanding myself a lot deeper, and also just being equipped for when things do and will go a direction that I don't want or expect them to.
So are those the two biggies that you would recommend? If somebody came to you, if I came to you and said, Craig, I like the stuff you're saying, and I feel the need to create a routine for myself, where should I start? What kind of recommendation would you
go check out my blog and download the guide that I put out, which is 5 simple strategies to customize your morning routine. I looked at hundreds of different people's routines to figure out what are 5 strategies that work, and it's custom to each person. So I think that as much as meditation and writing down my thoughts and mood have been amazing for me, that might not work for someone, especially where they're at right now, given their life situation, the life circumstances, the amount of time they have, what have you. But it's all about starting your day with some awareness and intention, which there are so many different things you could do. I actually am just about to publish a post in the next week or 2 that I've been working on for many, many months. It's 125 plus morning rituals to consider.
All right.
So to say just one is hard for me. If you had to ask me what has been the most effective morning ritual for me, hands down meditation. I think that's like a keystone habit. But I also think that meditation isn't necessarily for everyone, that some people, it might not work for them right now. I do think that meditation is going to be the next physical exercise, that 30 or 40 years from now, we will understand that meditation is exercise for the mind, like exercise is for our body, and it is that important. But like I said, it completely depends on each person's situation and where they're at.
Cool.
You're collecting them. I mean, that's why. How do you collect them, Craig? I mean, you basically looking for them and then testing them out, right? Before they make into your list.
I don't test out every one that I put on the list, but I have tested out quite a few of them. I get them from reading about other people's morning routines. There's a website called mymorningroutine.com where every week they release one person's morning routine, and these tend to be people that are successful in different fields, from business to athletics to anything else. And so partly from that, but also just reading a lot of other routines online. And then some of them are things that I just thought of, like what are things that I would like to consider doing in the morning. And I noticed that once I started to try and think of morning routines, they would just pop in my head throughout the day. Like, oh, that would be a really good one.
Yeah.
I added that to the list.
Yeah, I would be going through that list for sure. But my approach would be, like, I would start every morning with the whole list in front of me. And I would just go from top to bottom, and I'll go, does it feel good? Yes or no? No. Next. Does that feel good now, And then you just kind of like, every day it could be a different routine.
Totally.
Right? So that's the idea, I would say, for the rebels, for the quadrant of the rebels, right? That's how they could use your list, right? Whereas the others, they could say, okay, I'm going to choose these 5, and that's what I'm going to stick to. And if I don't get that done, gosh, I'm going to freaking be so mad with myself. No. Kidding.
That's a good idea for the rebels. I like that because I think even having some space or time carved out where you're doing something that you want to be doing, whatever that is. That could be, today I'm going to play the piano, tomorrow I'm going to play darts, the next day I'm going
to... Just having so many choices excites me already. I mean, you're saying 120 something, right? That's amazing. There's so much, choosing to do. I mean, that could be a routine in and of itself,
I was going to say.
Well, I'll let you know when that's out, and you can start putting a different routine or ritual for every day.
Yeah,
definitely.
Routine number 1, go through the routines list.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Greg, we're running up on time for you, right?
Yeah, I got about 5 or 10 more minutes.
Okay. So I want to make sure that we do this. Would you please give anybody who's consuming this, whatever contact information you want them to have, websites, email if you want to do that, whatever you want to make sure it gets out.
The best place is the blog directly, which is creategoodmornings.com. I just started on Twitter, which is linked to from the blog. You can see it in the top right-hand corner and follow me there if you're interested in some of these things that I'm talking about.
Cool. Yeah, we had her response I thought was interesting. I don't know if you know her, Bree Seeley. She just released a book called Permission to Leap, and we interviewed her a few weeks ago, and
it was a great interview.
Yeah, and she mentioned that she has her own, and she's really sold on the need to have a regular morning routine. But she said that people always want to know, well, what's your routine? As if her routine is the magic pill. And her response was like, I'm not even going to tell you, because it doesn't matter what my routine is. And I think that's true for so many things. We got to figure out what works for us really on our own. It's fine to get suggestions from people, but doesn't mean it's right for you.
100% agree. I have the same response to that question when people ask me what my routine is. I typically try to steer away from answering it too directly and focus on the other person, what is going to work best for them.
I was thinking when you brought it up, maybe we'll send her the web address for that. What's my routine.com?
The other one, it's mymorningroutine.com.
Yeah. Send that to her and she can give that to people.
Yeah.
You really need somebody else's routine.
My
Here, go
website
check
would
it out.
be great.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't want to jump into something that's too juicy, because then we'll have to drop it because we're up against time. Gabi, any more questions? Anything you want to bring out?
No, I just want to thank Craig. It was an interesting experience for me personally, and I hope that we somehow connect again someday. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to. You know, I touched on it in the first go round when we had our conversation. There's a couple of things in that one blog post, those what if exercises, that I think are really, really interesting, and we could have some interesting conversation around those things.
Absolutely.
What if I knew I was going to die in a year from now, and what would I do, and that kind of thing. So yeah, maybe we'll bring you back, and you know, we'll focus a little more on those kinds of things. But in the meantime, I hope some little nugget came out of this for somebody out there, and definitely anybody who's watching or listening, if you like what you're getting, let us know. Let Craig know. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Tim and Gabi. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Keep up your podcast and the good work you're doing here.
Good luck. And
thanks. We'll let you know when it's going live.
And look forward to reading your blog that you're working on right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.